Today I want to talk about distorted views on femininity and male versus female dynamics. Um, I've noticed that on YouTube and on other platforms, there are enough educators that educate other men. I'm talking about men who are educating other men on masculinity and relationships. And this content especially attracts a lot of young men who are in their 20s and 30s. And when I look at the content, parts of it rings true, but there are also enough parts that come from an unbalanced energy or perspective. So one of the frames that I see time and time again are coming out from this unbalanced content is about female fucked up psychology. It's preached and worshipped like a gospel. And the idea is that women are like this and they're not going to change. Like, there is no room for transformation. Accept it or you won't be successful with them. So it leaves men with consequences that they have to basically show up and deal with that and cope with the fact that women are like this and they won't change. There is no alternative. Now, if we men, we accept this idea that women are just like this and they're not going to change, they can't change, there is no alternative, and we normalize this paradigm, then what we do from our side, we also participate in recreating or co-creating the same type of reality or social dynamic and interaction between men and women, because we keep holding the same old paradigm. And what happens, we as men, we create together this with women, this toxic, dysfunctional, unhealthy, unbalanced way of being. To me, what this does is I see it as an excuse that we see the other side as dysfunctional, as the problem, to the extreme that cannot be changed. So it gives us men a permission or justification to also be kind of fucked up, or if they're fucked up, like, and they treat us in a fucked up way, like, we're gonna get back to them the same way, pretty much, because that's the game. Those are the rules of the game. I see it as victim mentality. It's recreating karmic cycles back and forth. It's like, you did this to me, I'm gonna do this to you. So recreating the vicious cycle, the dysfunctional patterns between the both sexes. And I get it. I'm pretty sure that almost each of us to this point have had like a very negative, shitty relationship experience where our childhood traumas got triggered, ours and our partners, and that showed up in a very ugly, very toxic way. And that was very traumatizing, often for both of the sides. And we don't want to have that happen ever again. That's understandable. If we desperately try to avoid or run away from the past hurt or unwanted history, we recreate it. By focusing on it, we recreate it again, again, and again, because we keep projecting this past hurt, this unwanted history onto present moment and following future. So there is no escape from that. And what it does, it often creates distortions because we view people through the past lens, hurtful lens, not the present, the current, because we want to protect ourselves, we want to predict, we want to prevent, we want to filter out the same type of unwanted experiences. But the thing is, as long as we stay in our past hurts and we see them as universal truth, facts, and proof that that's what the reality is in the present tense, even future tense, then what's going to happen is we're going to keep recreating the same type of reality and experiences in our life, because we view the reality from the same past lens over and over and over. And what happens is we don't create a new, more healthy, more balanced, more loving world with more loving interactions between each other. And instead, we stay in the same old shit. And we relive the same old relational patterns and we accept them as okay, as norm, even though they're coming from unresolved traumas. Now, if we, human collective, want to live in more loving space, what we are required to do, both men and women, is to work on our traumas, our childhood dysfunctional patterns, and by releasing them, also embodying a new future versions, more balanced, more healing versions, preferred versions of ourselves. And these future versions, they're not gonna tolerate anymore these old dysfunctional patterns. So, and this is law of mirror. Like when we start to embody, when we start to be a different version, universe will reflect that externally. So it's always from the inside out. The transformation happens first within us, and then the external circumstances and environment will reflect that onwards. That's quantum physics. The more women are elevating their game, the more collective masculine are also being pulled or called to do the same as a reflection. Because energetically, one healthy pole cannot exist without another healthy pole. Like if there is divine feminine, there's also divine masculine. Masculine is the counterpart to the feminine, yin and yang. And the more we keep living through the eyes of distortions and past hurts, it's just the longer we put ourselves at disservice. Really. I'm not agitating to ignore what's happening in real time, like to ignore the dysfunctional patterns that are there and you notice them. Like, that's not what I'm talking about here. What I am talking about is it's not helpful to find yourself in a mindset that the other party cannot change, because then it means that we are also very limited in our options. If men have this rigid mindset, it also gives them permission to show up from a place of the energy of resentment, bitterness, anger, frustration. And currently, there is very little space in collective masculine created and held for the feminine to show up in a different way, because of the belief or the perception that, hey, this is what it is. Female and male dynamic is fucked up, so that's it. So there is no room or space for anything else. And honestly, I don't see this as ultimately a very loving approach to follow this old paradigm of fucked up female psychology. What happens is, like, when men show up from this place, guess what? Like, women can sense that subconsciously too, and that creates unconscious interactions, that creates forceful action, manipulation, abuse, control on both sides. That gives space for wounded child patterns playing out on both sides. Right now, we are invited to work on ourselves and to hold our highest standards, values, principles. Some of you might think that this is delusional, this is unrealistic, and even express sarcasm or even nihilism. But the thing is, it also creates energetic ripple effect in our collective energy field. The more people do this, the more of them join up, and it creates like a stronger mass effect, facilitating others to shift. And again, if we want to live in a different world, we are invited to grow out of old paradigms. Otherwise, we're gonna end up in the same sad story. Each of us have divine masculine and divine feminine that recognizes distortions within us and outside us, and is guiding us to correct them and alchemize our baggage.